Guys, I finally did it! I managed not to miss out on a game jam.
Woo! Yeah!
That's right, the second Brackeys Game Jam just got wrapped up and the review process has now started. We got 333 entries, which is not only amazing, it is also apparently an angel number. So if that excites you, yay! Anyway, the goal for the jam was to make a game from scratch in only 1 week. The theme was Love is Blind, which the admins from the forum was so kind as to hide from me until it got announced. Which meant that I got to experience the usual emotional roller coaster of, ooh, that's really cool. Wait a minute, I have no idea what to make with that. I'll never get another idea in my life again. Ooh, that might work. Let's do this. So my first thought when hearing the theme was, that's a really good Jack White song. The next thought was to make a puzzle platformer. Yes, that was literally how it went. So far, most of my jam games have been score-based, the kind of games where you start over and over again in an effort to do better. However, for this game I really wanted to try my luck with something different. So I went with a more level-based structure. This of course meant that I had to delve into the vast and daunting world of level design. The basic idea of the game was this. 2 players must collaborate to make it to their date. Because the player characters are in love, they are blind to everything the other player touches. The 2 players need to both work around this and use it as an advantage to help each other succeed. And with that, it was time to get cracking. But first, this video is sponsored by Jason Wyman. He's the creator of the amazing Unity 3D Masterclass, which takes you all the way from the very fundamentals of game dev to using Unity on a professional level. It will teach you the principles of solid code architecture and how to build a variety of game types. On top of that, you will also get familiar with packages like Cinemachine, Timeline, and ProBuilder. What makes this course unique is that you get to work along with other students and get live one-on-one help from Jason himself. He also has an amazing VR course that will teach you how to work with VR and even make a game. At the end, you will have made multiple finished games and have the opportunity to customize and show off your unique work to the class. If you sign up now, the first 50 people will get a free Brackeys shirt as well as a big discount and other bonuses on both courses. Simply click the link in the description and get started. So the first day was all about getting the core gameplay in place. I started by writing up a doc with a list of ideas for stuff I wanted in the game and sketched out a quick example level to help visualize them. Once I felt I had a good idea of where to start, I jumped right into player movement, which in this case was fairly simple. I also made good use of the 2D platform component to allow players to jump on top of platforms from underneath. Of course, the game needed 2 player characters, so I created the second player using a variant prefab that overrided controls and graphics, and after just about an hour, the players were moving around the screen. Next, I created platforms that would register when a player collided with them and change color based on the player. Of course, a really central part of the game is that players move through colliders of the opposite color. To achieve this, I used the collision matrix to choose certain layers that wouldn't collide with each other and assigned these layers through script. I then created an end goal that triggers a level change when both players are standing on the platform. I also made the level restart when a player falls down. And with that, I actually kind of had a game. It wasn't very pretty yet, but the core mechanics were there. I also realized that all of my levels would be sharing a lot of the same objects. Stuff like the main environment, game managers, and the camera should remain the same. So I decided to make use of Unity's new ability to combine together multiple scenes and split the game into a base scene with all the stuff that wouldn't change, and then a scene for each level containing all the level-specific elements like platforms. Also created a quick script that would load and unload level scenes during the game. And I was surprised to see that with very little effort the system worked really well, and it made it so much easier when I later had to go in and update graphics. At the end of the day, I introduced a new gameplay element. Vertical blockers. These force the players to start thinking about how they can help each other pass through otherwise blocked off passages. I followed that up with a bit of playtesting, courtesy of Andreas and Thea, and that was pretty much it for day 1. Now, if we take some graphics, add a bit of graphics, and then order some more graphics on top of that, that pretty much sums up day 2. I started by seeking out some nice reference images that fit the style I was going for. I wanted something cozy, like a tavern or restaurant. I found this amazing artwork from the game Monster Sanctuary that I just fell in love with, and perhaps copied a bit. And I actually think this is an important point to make. I'm not a very good artist. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that it's very important not to be afraid of copying bits and pieces of artwork you like, especially when learning. I found that it's a great way to improve my skills by trying out new techniques, but still having a reference to help guide in the right direction. Of course, I always encourage you to put a spin on it and think of ways to make your work stand out. In this case, for example, I wanted to move away from the traditional flat pixel art style and decided to make everything react to lighting in Unity. I wrote up a quick sprite shader that allowed me to input a normal map and generated normal maps for the environment in Photoshop using this guide I found online. I also created some sprites for the players. I really wanted the characters to feel squishy, and despite my terrible animation skills, I feel like I achieved that fairly well. Now the graphics work continued on day 3. I created sprites for the different platforms and a small romantic dinner table. I also took advantage of the dynamic lighting and added a candlelight that would flicker slightly to give a bit of life to the scene. I then made the platforms glow when changing color, which I think really helped tie everything together and make the levels more vibrant as the players progressed through them. And talking about levels, at this point it was time to start introducing new puzzle elements into the game. I did this using a very simple 3-part design philosophy. 1. Introduce mechanic. 2. Explore mechanic. And 3. Challenge. A good example of this is the timed color changer. This platform will alternate between the 2 colors on a fixed timer. The first level to introduce this is super simple. Both players need to time their jumps to make it across. At this point the players are familiar with how the mechanic works, and the first step is complete. Next, we explore the mechanic. Here we see that multiple platforms can change color at the same time. This level is harder and forces the players to start testing out their knowledge of the mechanic to solve it. Finally, we challenge the players. In this case, it's done by offsetting the timer on the platforms so that the players have to be really accurate with their jumps. The players also have to switch positions, which makes it easier to get confused. But no matter how good a design philosophy you might think you have, you must never underestimate the importance of playtesting. Whenever I asked Thea and Andreas to help out, they always managed to figure out weird loopholes that I would have never discovered on my own. Finally, I created some more size variations for the platforms, and that was pretty much the end of day 3. Day 4 was the final day I had to work on the project. Because of this, I jumped straight into level design. I added buttons that would change the color of platforms while standing on them, and using the same design philosophy, I created 3 levels based on this concept. At this point, the game needed quite a bit of polish, so I created a start screen that would introduce the characters and goal of the game, as well as a quick victory screen to reward players who complete all the levels. I also created an animation for finishing a level, added a quick splash screen, and with that, the game was complete. We threw together a very quick celebration and I submitted the game to the jam. And I must say, I'm really glad with how this one turned out, especially because there are so many ways you can expand on the game by just adding more interesting levels. If you want to play the game, we'll of course have a link for that in the description. And while you're at it, make sure to check out and review all the other amazing entries. We're planning to do a separate video on all the awesome jam games, so stay tuned for that. Also, don't forget to check out Jason's awesome courses. Simply click the link in the description to get a discount, and the first 50 people will receive a free Brackeys shirt. On that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks to all of the awesome Patreon supporters who donated in February, and a special thanks to James P, Jack Dubert, Andrew Kalinko, John Shannon, Infinity PPR, Cyborg Mummy, Dennis Sullivan, Travis Dillon, Faisal Marify, Leo Lisette, Runin, Clinton Fenskiwa, Chris, Mechanical Mind, Frank Solong, Carsten Surland, Gregory Pierce, Kill Sweeteski, Rob Farron, Tima Folderbach, Erasmus, and Naoki Wasaki. You guys rock!